Are you fed up of losing tickets in your Galactic Legend Leia event? Well, don't you worry, your boy Scribble here is to hold your hand and guide you through the entire thing. Smashing, darling, let's go. So, Tier 1, we are using our R2-D2. Now, we do have an additional unit within this event, a gifted unit of Princess Leia. You cannot affect the modding of this character. She comes unmodded, she comes maxed out, essentially, all of her abilities, everything like that is already done for you, so you can't really influence anything there. R2-D2, however, is your R2-D2 unit. Now, I just tested this and I was able to get it done with very base and easy mods. However, I am going to recommend certain mod sets for you. We're going to go over that very quickly to maximize your chances. Because when you are going through this event, you want to make sure, chiefly, that you pass it without failing. Because if it's costing you tickets, then that is a complete waste of your time. And I don't want to waste your time. So let's look at some optimal modding for R2-D2. So with some optimal modding here, I've changed out for a speed set and a defense set because survivability is actually key in this event. I'm running defense sets to lower the incoming damage, speed sets so that we can take more turns. I've also made sure to apply a lot of protection primaries. The reason I've gone for protection primaries is because the enemy does actually put out quite a lot of exposes, and exposed does damage based on your max health. So the higher your max health, the more damage that you're going to be taking. Okay, so swapping that out for protection bumps up your protection, meaning you'll take less overall damage, and the additional speed and the defense also helps. So we're at 354 speed, and I'm not saying that this is an absolute hard requirement. I'm just saying try and get him fast, try and get him quite heavy on the protection. We've got a little bit of potency there to help us land debuffs, and I've not really focused on offense, because this is really more about the strategy than anything else. So let us begin. So we have an Imperial officer, and we have got 4 Stormtrooper allies. With your first turn, it should obviously be R2-D2 going first. Go ahead and stealth and bring him out into focus. If we lose R2-D2, we do actually lose the battle in its entirety. I'm going to spread out some burning right out the rip, and unfortunately the enemy is going to start taunting straight away. Use the first special over there with Princess Leia. Because she is stealth from R2-D2, she will gain 100% turn meter, and we can start just unloading on the enemy. I'm focusing on the Imperial officer, even though we're going to be forced to attack some of these tanks in a second now. Alright, let's just keep attacking the Imperial officer. See those exposes landing there already? They do that on a basic. Luckily, when R2-D2 crits, he is going to be cleansing thanks to his Zeta. So just keep on applying burn whilst you can. Use the special with Princess Leia when you can, and just focus on one Stormtrooper at a time. We want to try and reduce their health as much as possible. Really, I should have spread that basic from R2-D2 to other enemies to try and stun them. But for now, let's just focus on the one Stormtrooper. He is going to probably die from burning right now, so I'm going to go ahead, use the stealth again. That's going to give us a foresight, helping us evade one attack. We'll use the AoE burning once again, and we're going to focus on a completely separate Stormtrooper now. Now, there is an 85% chance, I believe, to apply that stun, but it still has to go through a potency tenacity check. So again, focus down on one Stormtrooper at a time, hopefully land some stuns as well. Beautiful. Once again, leave Leia out, leave R2-D2 out in the open, getting that foresight, keeping Leia stealthed the whole time. Let's keep focusing on this Stormtrooper. The burning... Oh, well, the burning would have killed him if you'd have taken a turn. So let's just keep focusing on the Imperial officer, as he is more of a threat, in my opinion. Let's go one. No multiple attacks, unfortunately. Let's land the burning again. That speed obviously playing a pivotal role here in making sure that we take many, many turns. And once you start to kill off the enemies, it becomes a lot more manageable because they have a harder time clearing off your foresight and actually dealing damage to your R2-D2. There we go. Last Stormtrooper now. His burning is probably going to kill him. Yep, absolutely lovely. So the only thing I would say is perhaps throw a little bit more potency on R2-D2 to land those stuns, to land those burnings. And then we get a nice little video clip right at the end there. So that first tier we need to do 8 times in order to fully earn all the shards that we have for Galactic Legend Leia. Looking at tier 2, and this one is the real tricky one. We'll have to go into some detail about the mod setup just to make sure we absolutely nail this. In this tier we get to use Rolo, Rebel Officer Leia Organa, we get to use Captain Han, and we get given an event unit of C-3PO. So the C-3PO unit, like the Princess Leia unit in Tier 1, is completely maxed out but has no mods, and we cannot influence him at all. He is there, he is set in stone. Captain Han and Rolo are completely manageable. Now, my Captain Han happens to be R7. You do not need him at R7, and you need absolutely no Zetas. But the modding approach, in my opinion, is absolutely critical. So let's start off with Rebel Officer Leia Organa. I've gone for offense and potency sets. The reason for this is we need her to do damage and we need her to land her debuffs so that we can actually hit those exposes, hit those dazes, etc., ability blocks, all that good business. So 50k health, 59k protection, very, very important. We want to make sure we've got a crit avoidance arrow on her. This is so important to try and make sure that she survives, okay? Because Darth Vader out there in the second wave of this event does a boatload of damage, and so do the ads. So we need any kind of damage mitigation that we can afford. All right. So crit avoidance arrow. We've gone for protection primaries and a decent amount of speed at 300. I've got crit damage on the triangle. We've got over 110% potency. I imagine about 100% will be absolutely fine. Not bothering at all with tenacity on Rebel Officer Leia Organa, and I have her offense at 7,162. Captain Han then is the next person we're looking at. Again, minus relic 7. He's only relic 5 as a requirement. More relics do help him survive. All right. You can see I've gone for maximum tenacity setup here. We need to make sure, or we need to try our hardest to make sure that he can resist debuffs. Okay. When Vader does that force crush, we want to try and make sure that he gets as few or no dots whatsoever. Now, I have him at 172.93 tenacity, and you'll be surprised to know that that isn't actually enough to guarantee that we do not land debuffs. The only other thing I would say is, once again, crit avoidance on the arrow, and we are looking for a little bit of speed. I've got him at 254 right now. This over here, it's a protection primary, doesn't necessarily need any additional 6E in right now. Again, protection primaries because we do get things such as damage over times in this, so you want to have less health, more protection if at all possible. Alright, so he doesn't have a whole lot of damage or anything else like that. Let's go into the battle and we can start talking about strategy then. So the first wave really isn't so bad. We essentially have 3 snowtroopers. What we really want to make sure is that we can actually get round and start the next phase with our cooldowns all off, so we're available to use whatever we have available to us. I'm just going to focus in on one snowtrooper at a time. Again, I don't actually want to use too many of my cooldowns here. I just want to make sure that we are pretty healthy going into the next wave and that we can immediately come out with our specials against Vader. All right, you see these exposes that we're landing? They are absolutely pivotal. So we're just basicking essentially in this first wave. The enemies drop relatively quickly. That potency coming through, helping us land those exposes, is absolutely enormous. There we go. One more hit over there. Job done. You see the amount of damage that those exposes do? Let's just go 1 times here. Boom. 100,000 damage there on that expose. Enormous amounts of damage. And we've come through this first wave relatively unscathed. Okay. So we want Rolo taking a pretty quick turn at the start of the next wave, and we want to be targeting Darth Vader. Okay, this is the phase in which it gets a little bit tricky. So I'm going to use Confuse over here, and I'm going to target on Rolo. It's going to give her a stack of Confuse. We luckily managed to land that expose there from the basic, and we've got buff immunity. So you want to use this AoE and hope to land ability block on Vader. There's no guarantee that it lands, and it didn't land this time. So I'm just going to use a basic here. Here comes the crush. No dots landing on Han is absolutely key. Let's use another AoE here. Now you don't want, make sure Han's first special will heal and cleanse debuffs. Do not use it while Vader is alive, because all that will do is help him recover health and protection. Okay, we want to just get through and get as many basics on Vader to try and get those exposes on him. Hopefully land a couple of those ability blocks, and hopefully land a couple of exposes as well along the way. All right, I'm going to just call in Captain Han here, double assist. Twice as many chances for us to land exposes. Keep on landing those exposes. Here it comes, hold on. It doesn't necessarily matter if you lose a unit from this, but it's also why it's very important. There's the ability block now, and it doesn't matter. It's very important to make sure we get that crit avoidance. All right, so let's just go ahead and basic Vader. Vader is about to die here, so let's land this AoE. Did he evade or something? There we go. Okay, we've gotten rid of Vader. Now that Vader's gone, we can actually heal up, get rid of those dots, and life becomes a lot easier now, because they're not constantly being reapplied. The enemy isn't going to deal anywhere near enough damage to see us off. This is the most difficult phase of the event, and yes, it is a little RNG based. I'm not going to pretend like it isn't, because sometimes you just have a very, very poor opener, and Vader might kill one of your units. try to make sure you save Han specials to revive. Do not try and heal with Han while Vader is alive. It is a futile endeavor, and you'll never get through Vader that way, okay? If I could put it on auto right now, I would, because we know that the enemy is cooked at this point. We got him. I'll use his special just to increase the stacks of translation. Boom, loads of damage. And that is phase 2. The modding is super important for this one, guys, like I said. And the approach in the second wave, very, very important for strategy. Make sure you save your cooldowns going into the second wave. Focus down Vader, get those exposes on him, and do not cleanse with Captain Han until Vader is dead. All right? Smashing. Onwards to tier 3 then. We're using Rolo, R2-D2, Lando, and 3PO and Chewie. All of these are your own units, so all of your modding will apply. I don't think you need any specific kind of modding for this to happen. This wave is actually incredibly easy, so if you've got some decent mods on there already, you should be absolutely fine, okay? Don't worry, it is an easy wave, especially when you compare it to the previous one. So we're going to take the same sort of approach. We're going to stealth and leave R2-D2 out in the open. Let's look to get a bunch of blinds here and just start throwing out AoEs. Lovely. So Chupio does a boatload of damage and should be doing pretty good work for you. Pretty good work indeed. Those two were ability blocks, so they weren't actually able to get their taunts up, which is rather nice. And we're just looking to see if we can destroy Boba Fett at least once before he gets going. Let's get those blinds. Lovely. Probably should have saved that blind, truth be told, for after when these guys start taunting. But who's counting? Who's counting? We've got quite a lot of AoEs in this team anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue for us. Like I said, this wave, this tier, very, very easy, guys. Let's just do an AoE with Chupio. I love Chupio. He is fantastic. So after wave 2, wave 3 is just an absolute war. You go round into the second wave and it's just 5 stormtroopers. Honestly, if you could put it on auto, I'd recommend you just put it on auto because it's really not going to be too much of an issue for you. If you did kill some people with Chupio in the previous wave, that stacking offense will actually carry forward and count. Yes, they do have a lot of exposes that they can land, but R2-D2 should be able to cleanse whenever he crits, which is absolutely phenomenal. Let's just keep on throwing out these AoEs. Let's just do a nice big AoE now. They do have that defense up, but not much we can do about that. They will pass it around the field quite a lot. Keep on going. Keep on going. Stay on target, boys. Let's do this. Burning. Burning. Is R2 going to finish him off? No, not quite. They're quite chunky. And there you go, guys. There you go. Tier 3, really not so bad. Let's move swiftly on then. Swiftly to tier 4. The final tier for unlocking Galactic Legend Leia. We get greeted by a nice intro here where Leia saves Han from his carbonite prison. Rather nifty. I do like it when we get these little animations at the start of our events. It does feel like it gives it a little sense of accomplishment and a little bit of nostalgia for us Star Wars nerds that love the original trilogy. So once again, this is a 2-wave event. We get faced off against Gamma Guard with Mob Enforcer and Boba Fett out of the rip. I'd recommend immediately going for Boba Fett. He is, in my opinion, the most challenging individual. And we're just going to be throwing out bombs there. We do not need any specific kind of modding. Your standard modding for Boushh Leia will suffice here. Just throw some speed on her. If you want to put some additional offense or potency on her, be my guest. It's really not going to be too important in my opinion. Just play Han like you always would. Get rid of the damage dealers first and then move on to dealing with Gamma Guard. Hopefully last. Feel free to use all the specials that you can. Wave 1, really not so bad. Wave 2 is more of the same, essentially, but you do actually have to face off against Jabba. So again, I'm actually going to stun Gamorrean Guard here because I want to stop him from trying to taunt, except, you know, he just immediately took a turn. We're going to go ahead and try to get as much damage into Mob Enforcer as we can, and then focus down on Gamma Guard. Now, obviously, if we remove TM from the enemy, they have got Jabba's leadership active, so it does mean that they will gain some bonus protection. But you should be able to deal more than enough damage to these guys so that it's not going to be an issue. I'm just going to use basics here, because Jabba is not going to take a boatload of damage from the thermal detonators. Hand counterattacks and absolutely destroys Jabba. Those are the events that you need to get done in order to pass the beginning stages before farming out your ultimate. Really not too bothersome outside of tier 2. So the ultimate consists of 2 tiers as well, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll have to do these a number of times. The first one will be very similar to the speeder bike raid that we have currently active in the game. I don't know when you're watching this, maybe the speeder bike raid is a long distance memory for you, but at this point, the good thing about this ultimate tier is A, you do not need any specific modding, B, you have to try to lose. My pro tip for this is hit buttons and hope something happens. Honestly, you just do anything. Do anything you want. Absolutely anything you want. Now, I'm not saying go in with a low gear Galactic Legend Leia. You can, supposedly, I've heard people say they've done this at like gear 1, but for your own safety, just go in with like minimum gear 12 on your Galactic Legend Leia. There's no real rush to get this ultimate done straight away, and you'll be absolutely fine. The ultimate tiers for this are really just a bit of a joke, truth be told. So when you go into Wave 2, you basically have lost your Jedi Knight Luke, and it's just you as Galactic Legend Leia alone, having a good time against the Scout Troopers. But again, like I said, like I don't even know how you actually failed to win this. You just hit buttons and you just win, because you just do it. Like, you can't, if you need a guide for this, what are you doing? Like throwing your phone against, I don't even know, but it's easy. It's easy. All right. The second part of the ultimate tier is a little bit harder. The very final tier then, and this time we get to go in with some wonderful, wonderful Ewoks. So again, you've got your standard Galactic Legend Leia. Mine's even missing a mod currently because of some mod shenaniganry I'm doing. You get given Wicket over here, and you can see the awful mods that I have on him right now, because who cares about Ewoks? Maybe they do in the future, who knows? Again, Nisa, who cares about Ewoks? I'm very, very sorry to anybody that actually cares about Ewoks, but I am not one of them. Chewbacca over there is an event unit, so you can't impact his modding at all. Han Solo as well is also a gifted unit. So it's just your Ewoks that you have to worry about, and when I say worry about, I mean you don't have to worry about it at all. It's actually quite an easy tier. So we have 2 waves to this. First off is just against a lone Scout Trooper, which is relatively easy. I just strip back the turn meter on our good boy Wicket, and then use Wicket to call Leia to assist. She is a Galactic Legend. She will do absolutely fine here. Literally do whatever you want, truth be told, and you should be able to go through this first phase without too many issues. Constantly trying to hurt that Scout Trooper. Counterattacks do lots of damage. Lovely jubbly. Wicket is dealing just as much damage as Galactic Legend Leia, but they're quite tanky. Just takes a little bit of time. Just, you know, I don't maybe do this whilst writing your memoirs or catching up on your correspondence. You'll be fine. Be absolutely fine, guys. Don't stress about this tier. Come on, Scout Trooper, get out of here. Good, good. So the second tier is actually thematically looks pretty cool, because we're up here against an AT-ST. Love to see it. Hands shoots first, can even stun it. I'm not sure how that makes sense, but it does, I guess. I would personally call Nisa in to assist, because she actually does pretty decent damage, as you can see. And yeah, you should be fine, because like I said, you can control this Imperial AT-ST. You can stun it, you can deal real good damage to it. So don't stress too much about it. Just use the specials, stun it when you can. Chewie places Tenacity down on his basic, and he will be using that basic whenever a guarded ally does take a turn. So you'll be able to get that captured mechanic on the AT-ST pretty quickly, removing its ability to have any sort of protection. And it's just plain sailing from there. Plain sailing from there. Just keep shooting and reenact the Battle of Endor. Stuns with Chewie, stuns with Han Solo, stuns with Nisa, Tenacity down with Chewie. It's a very easy battle. Like I said, these mods that I have on them were actually terrible. Nisa, on the other hand, does do pretty good damage. I'm quite proud of Nisa. And there we have it. That is the entirety of the Galactic Legend Leia event, done and dusted with ultimates and all. Please do let me know in the comment section down below, how much trouble did you have with the Galactic Legend Leia event? Was I able to provide you with a little bit of guidance and hopefully save you a couple of tickets? I sure do hope so. Sound off in the comment section down below, and until the next video, peace out, and may the Force be with you.